Hello and welcome to the Engerati studio. I'm Rob Martin. I'm joined here by Ulla Sandborgh, the Director General and CEO of Svenska Kraftnät. Ulla, first of all, welcome.
Thank you very much.
So, for some context, later in this event you're going to be talking about microgrids. So that seems like a sensible place to start. So, from your perspective as a TSO, why are TSOs now becoming interested in microgrids? What's the change in time factor?
I think we see a lot of renewables in the system, and the system is changing dramatically. And I believe that microgrids is one of the solutions. We can't think the old way by putting just new generation in place. We also think about this new technology that's making this possible with microgrids and people sort of taking care of their own electricity needs.
So this sounds like you might be encouraging microgrids. Do you think TSOs in general are encouraging microgrids, or are they simply dealing with them?
I think we still see them as a threat, because if you see everybody going off-grid, but I don't think everybody's going off-grid. I think it's going to be a combination of off-grid and on-grid, and I'm pretty certain that it's going to be a good solution in the future. Now we are just trying to find a solution. And that's one way, but then in the end, it's going to be something good. That's at least what I think.
So who do you see then as driving the need for microgrids? Is it more that end users, DSOs perhaps, or end users, automotive, industrials? Who's driving the need?
In Sweden, we have a pilot with a DSO, but they have been contacted by some end users actually. Old people thinking about the future. They have a very old windmill, okay. They have some solar panels, and then they thought, hey, why can't we go off-grid? They are not really off-grid, but they can be now. And they have solutions for batteries, and of course, putting more solar panels on their villas. So it's a very interesting way of, the drivers are actually the community there. But I also think that there are coming new players into the market that would like to facilitate this and make this happen.
So who would you see as those new players? Is it automotive? Is that potential? Is it the large manufacturers? Who would you potentially see as those new players?
I think they're new players not in the electricity market. They don't really need to understand this, what we are doing today with transmission and distribution. They see a possibility. We can, for instance, talk about blockchain. These are companies coming from other branches, more like IT, and think this is a possibility.
Absolutely, and we've seen it with IKEA as an example.
Exactly.
And you mentioned earlier about the potential to see it as a threat. One could see it as a threat, or indeed as an opportunity if TSOs look at microgrids as from a perspective of a service provider. Is the potential in the future for TSOs to act as a form of service provider in this arena?
I think we can facilitate that they can work on the market, because today the market is very regulated, who's going to be there and who's going to do what on the market. But we need to loosen this up. For instance, storage is not allowed in the Nordic countries, and we need to get the regulation in place. We are sort of too slow. We're slow movers, and we have to be much faster in the future.
And would you see the clean energy package as having an impact on that?
Yes, I think so, because you are empowering the customers. I think that's really good. And if people do understand what the Commission is aiming for, I think this could really happen.
Some people have raised a few concerns about how storage is being dealt with and termed in the clean energy package as well, in terms of ownership of storage assets. Is that potentially a concern, or do you feel it's still being ironed out at the moment?
I think it's a possibility, if you can even look upon a car as a storage. If you have multiple cars. Yes, they are. And they should be also on the market. Yeah. And at least be within the electricity system.
Absolutely. And if we draw away from microgrids for a moment and look at another perhaps broader topic within your remit, you've had a background in change management, and it could be argued that the energy transition is one big change management project for a whole industry.
It is.
So in your 9 months in your tenure so far, what change management have you undertaken? What's to come, and how does that fit with the entire energy transition?
Well, actually, yesterday I launched a new organization. That's not a revolution, but the most important part of that is that we launched a new way of working with IT and operations and market together, working with innovation and also IT-driven development. This is really new thing for our company, and it's been a struggle, of course, to get everyone to understand why we need to work like this, why IT is not isolated from the rest of the organization.
And how much resistance do you get to that? Because it's been an industry that's been characterized by copper wires and hard hats and engineers who are potentially a male-dominated industry, of which isn't getting any younger. How have you had resistance to that kind of change, and also what does it mean for the future of diversity, and is that necessary?
Well, I have had some resistance, of course. When we did this change, we also invited all the organization. We are like 700 employees. Everyone was allowed to be within workshops and give their opinions and so forth. But in the end, why we succeeded now, I think it was some people, less than 10, that really believed in this and said, yes, let's go for it. And I think it's by those who dared to say, let's try this one, because we've tried the other model for 25 years. Yeah. Let's try something new. So I think that was the key to success.
That sounds like an interesting project.
Yes, it was. It is. It's continuing.
And we hope to hear, perhaps in a year's time or 6 months' time, we'll get an update report on how that's going.
How it works.
Maybe if we just, if we finish on a question that we're trying to ask everybody at this event, we're looking at what the burning platform is in the energy industry, and by that we're talking about an issue that's got an immediacy and that's getting more immediate. So what would you describe as the burning platform?
I think the most important thing for us now is to get the politicians and the decision makers to understand what is happening, and that we are very close to things going another direction than we have done before. For instance, we can see this winter is going to be a shortage in several of the European countries. And how are we going to meet this? Is it just building more generation? No, it's looking for innovation and new ideas. And I think just making this a sense of urgency, I think that's the burning platform.
And do you feel that the sense of urgency is represented in the clean energy package and what the European Commission is trying to do in its recognition of DSOs? Is it represented sufficiently in that? Because there's probably 18 months to go until anything really happens at a national level. Is that the urgency that's required, or is it something else?
In some sense it does, but I think we need more. I mean, more innovation. But I really like in the clean energy package that's empowering the customers. So that's a good thing, but we need more. We still have these old structures, and we are also keeping them in a sense to stop evolution, I think, as well. Yeah. So I think we need another clean energy package.
Yet another one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good note to end on, Ulla. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for joining us in the Engerati studio. Goodbye.